Welcome to Weedsday Wednesday, Tucson, Arizona's #1 online radio podcast about all things for cannabis. Your host,
Belle Star
and the Cannabis Kid. Our show features news, interviews, and all the latest information about anything and everything medical cannabis related in Tucson, Arizona,
and the world at large.
We'd love to hear from you. Please give us a call live at 646-915-84.
Don't call them.
You can like us on Facebook, follow us on all social media, or email thctucson@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Tumbleweeds Health Center and Studio C, along with our many sponsors, for hosting our show every week. With the lowest price certifications in town, you'll find hemp products, accessories, and all things related to medical cannabis education.
Visit Tumbleweeds Health Center at 4826 East Broadway Boulevard or online at tumbleweedshealthcenter.com. And remember,
Be smart
be safe
and educate.
All right, welcome to Weedsday Wednesday, everybody. Woo! Silver Sister, you are in the corners, what we'd say in Tombstone. That's it. Cracking the whip, you owe me lunch today. Ooh, or Dave and Buster's. Yeah, let's go get some Dave and Buster's fun. Yeah. You have to fill my card now. That's a good one. If you lose, you have to fill the card. You'll hear all this later because you just woke up. No worries. Welcome to Weedsday Wednesday. No Silver Sister today. All right. Oh, my Lord. Woo! November 26th. That's cray-cray. Oh, where are they? All right. All right, and if you're wondering how many days until Christmas, 29 days until Christmas, and 30 until over. Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right down Weedsday. Just kidding, guys. All right, welcome to Weedsday Wednesday. Just found out Silver Sister just woke up. So she will not be joining the shows. Well, she'll tune in, maybe not. But we're going to have a chillax day. We're just going to listen to the video we were playing last week about the introduction to medical marijuana by an oncologist, actually, doctor of oncology. So that's interesting. So we'll listen to more of that. And first of all, we want to give a shout out to Tumbleweed Health Center at 6224 East Speedway Boulevard now with the good leaf. That's right. Get on over for some certifications and some hemp products. CBD, CBG, CBN, CBC, all of the CBUs. We got them all. Well, most of them. Whatever. The ones that they have found thus far. We got them. Now you can get certified to get your medical cannabis card and medical marijuana card in the great state of Arizona. We have a lot of conditions that you can get certified for, which is really nice. And then there are also conditions on here like chronic pain, nausea, muscle spasms, seizures, things like that are caused by a lot of conditions that aren't listed on here. So you can get your certification even if you don't hear your specific condition on here. All right. So if you live in the great state of Arizona and you want your medical marijuana card, and yes, there are so many benefits to getting that. And people ask all the time, because I run into people and I just flat out say, do you have your medical marijuana card? And they say, well, you don't have to now, right? And I go, well, that's correct. However, There are a lot of benefits to having your medical marijuana card, one of which is saving the 25% sales tax. Oh my Lord, that's expensive. So I went to go get something at the dispensary not so long ago, and the guy rang me up, and I was like, "Whoa!" And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, I'm medical." And he's like, "Oh, should have shown me a card." And I'm like, "Should have asked." That's your job, buddy. Anyway, it's a lot higher. You pay recreational patients or recreational folks pay 25% sales tax, which is awful. The regular, if you get your medical card, it's just your 8.7% or whatever, 8.9. What is it now? Oh my God, it just keeps going up and up. So that's just one benefit. Another benefit is your employer and your landlord, both. They can't just kick you out because they know that you use cannabis. They may have rules that say you can't smoke on property or on site, and that's fine. But no one can stop you from doing edibles or drinking it or doing tinctures or patches or suppositories even. I mean, whatever. If they want to say you can't smoke or vape, that's on them. You want to be in the workplace with them or in the your apartment, then by all means go right ahead and get yourself kicked out. Got to follow the rules. I mean, everybody has rules, and they can have rules. They can say no smoking or vaping on your breaks or whatever, and you can say okay. If you leave their property and you go out and do that, that's on you. But anyway, the other good thing about it is you get gun rights. So if you have your medical marijuana card and you have a gun, that's allowed. You can't federally, no one can have a gun or narcotics or anything like that together. Can't do it. But per the state of Arizona, they allow it. If you have your medical marijuana card, you still have gun rights. So don't think that you have to give those up, and don't think that you can't purchase guns either, because you can. So there's a question on the form you have to fill out to get your background check. And I've been doing this for 15 years since we've been here now. And so it says, are you addicted to, and then it lists everything from, it lists marijuana, it lists opiates, it lists heroin, it lists all sorts of stuff. And there's no one in their right mind who's going, yeah, I'm addicted to cocaine. Oh, here's a gun. here's a giant shotgun for you. Have a good time today since you're addicted and all. Let's see what happens when we put those two things together. No. But if you say that you're not addicted to marijuana, which most people are not, it's not really an addictive thing. Could be a habitual thing, but drinking water is habitual, which I can't find mine. So I might get some of that soon. Yeah. So you can still have your guns because you answer no to that question. And then you move on to the next question. What's your height? Whatever they want. I don't know. Address, phone, where, city of birth, all that good stuff. They find out where you're coming from. It's crazy. Our sensi. What is it? Sensi. Come on, open hour. Where are you? Where's that boss of yours? I thought maybe you were gonna be here because it was the day before a holiday, but nope. I guess not. Well, happy Thanksgiving to you anyway, but the sensi, it's a crazy thing. All right, so let's see. Here are the conditions that you can get your card for. You have to, there's some conditions, well, this one in particular, PTSD, you have to have your own medical records. We can't diagnose you with that. I don't know why. Well, because we're not psychiatrists. Maybe that's why. They need to get into the mental aspect of, because it's not just for veterans. There are so many people in the world that have PTSD for car accidents. Silver Sister, we know about those. All sorts of things. It doesn't have to be just veterans that have PTSD. However, you have to come with your own medical records, and the PTSD records have to be updated every year, once a year. All right. Now, the rest of these, you will probably already have records if you have these diagnoses. All right. Cancer, glaucoma, AIDS, chronic pain, which covers everything. Well, not everything, most everything from menstrual cramps to migraines to fibromyalgia to disc problems, arthritis problems, leg cramps, muscle cramps, all sorts of pain. What a backache, headache, whatever you got. Chronic to the state of Arizona means 60 days. It's got to be 2 months worth of time and you're good. That makes it chronic. Severe nausea, seizures, all seizures, including epilepsy, HIV, Hep C, ALS, Crohn's disease, agitation of Alzheimer's, dementia, and all those in between. Let's see here. Cachexia or wasting syndrome, severe and persistent muscle spasms, including multiple sclerosis. And like I said, you're eligible for a medical cannabis card, even if you didn't hear your condition on that list. Because if your condition is causing something on that list, you can get your card. So if you've got migraines, which wasn't on there, but it's causing chronic pain, there you go, get your card. Let's say you've got IBS or Tourette's or autism, anxiety, depressions, insomnia, and it causes anything on this list, then you're literally allowed to get your card for that. So, with no further.
If you suffer from one of these medical conditions and have been diagnosed by an Arizona licensed physician, medical cannabis may help relieve your symptoms. Tumbleweeds Health Center is Arizona's premier cannabis certification, health, and education center. Our primary focus is to help the patients of Arizona obtain their medical marijuana card and educate everyone about medical cannabis. With current medical records, approval is a simple process. Contact Tumbleweeds Health Center to see if you qualify for your Arizona medical marijuana card.
Are chronic conditions holding you back from a happy, healthy life? Get on the right track with Tumbleweeds Health Center. Our CBD products are formulated to fit your health lifestyle.
I would definitely say that CBD has changed my life. I mean, I don't worry about my dog anymore, and I don't worry about sleeping anymore.
Tumbleweeds Health Center, voted #1 health center in Tucson, has created a proprietary number of CBD blends, each designed to promote health and well-being. Let Tumbleweeds Health Center show you how CBD products might help you improve your life the natural way.
All right. Yeah, just give us a call, 520-838-4430. You can come on down to 6224 and see our beautiful hemp, our beautiful shop, the Good Leaf. We are inside the Good Leaf. I know that's a little confusing to some of you, but don't worry. You'll find us in the shopping center next to Bookman's. And Beyond Bread is over there. And what else is over there? All sorts of shops over there. And Tigany and Mostly Books. And Bookman's is a big one. There are tons of people that go to Bookman's. So, all right, let's see here. So what we were going to do today was just finish up listening to, we started this discussion with a doctor from, let's see if we get her name, Dr. Stacy DeAndre. She's a medical oncologist at the Mayo Clinic. And she is, let's see how long this is. It's 58 minutes. We're not going to get to all of it. But let's start over and we'll get to most of it. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll play the rest of it. We'll let you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. And we'll just go from here. Let's see how we do.
All right. Good morning. My name is Megan Ressler. I work in the Cancer Education Center in Rochester, Minnesota at Mayo Clinic. We're joined this morning by my colleague Janine Koppel and Angie Murad, and Janine will do an introduction of Dr. DeAndre in just a moment. So we're happy you're here to learn more about medical cannabis. Just so people know, we're recording this session for viewing. We are appearing on screen, but you are not. But we want this to be available to people that aren't able to join us for the live. So you can view it again later or share it with other people that you think might find the information interesting that we're sharing today. We'll have our presentation and then allow some time for questions and answers at the end. There's a Q&A chat function on your screen, so if you have any questions for us, we encourage you to type those into the chat and we'll see which ones we can get to before our time ends. We would also encourage you to like and follow the Cancer Education blog on Mayo Clinic Connect to learn more about upcoming webinars that we have. Topics that we're having coming up soon are Tai Chi, understanding your blood counts, and acupuncture. There's also lots of educational resources and a social component to Mayo Clinic Connect. So if any of that interests you, I encourage you to check that out. And then we want people to know that today's session is informational, not intended for medical advice, and that cannabis laws, whether they're dispensed for medical use or not, vary state by state, so you may need to do some homework based on where you live to find out more in that regard. So Janine, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure today to introduce our speaker, Dr. Stacy DeAndre, trained in medical oncology and hematology here at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, about 20 years ago. She's practiced in oncology medicine in California for many years and just recently returned here again to Mayo Clinic in Rochester to start the integrative oncology program. She is also an oncologist working with the brain tumor team as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. DeAndre. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much for inviting me today to do this lecture. So today's topic will be an introduction to medical cannabis. And again, just a quick disclaimer. Again, we're not intending any medical advice here. This is really just educational. Again, cannabis is still considered a Schedule I drug, and legality does vary state to state. And if you're interested in medical cannabis, again, check with your local process and work with a knowledgeable provider in your state. So cannabis has been around for a long time. The plant actually predates humans, and we've evolved along with the plant. It used to be used for clothing and for rope and food, especially hemp type of plants that really yield quite a bit of product. Early use in Chinese medicine was used many, many centuries ago. And hemp was extensively used in the 1600s in the New World. But it wasn't until the 1800s that Dr. O'Shaughnessy reintroduced cannabis back into the medical community. And at that time, it was used for epilepsy and rheumatism, different pains and aches. And at that time, people were using it as a tea or tincture form. It really wasn't used in inhalation form. Bayer and other companies, as marketed in this old-timey brand cough syrup one night, and if you look at the ingredients, that must have been one night, very interesting concoction, but it was used in formulations for many indications in about 1/3 of marketed drugs. But this essentially went away in 1937. There was a tax act, it was called the Marijuana Tax Act, and it essentially made cannabis illegal. So all of these concoctions basically stopped at that time. So in the 70s, cannabis was put on Schedule I status. And what that means is that the drug really has no medicinal value. It is ranked up there with heroin and LSD. And which is kind of confusing because we're using it medicinally and it's legal medicinally in many states. So the legality of cannabis is extremely confusing and changing. So so keep an eye out for what's happening in your local region, but also federally. So in the 1990s, this was a major discovery. They discovered brain receptors for endocannabinoids. And we learned that there's this whole system in our body called the endocannabinoid system. And so I'll touch on that a little bit coming up. Now in 2012, Oregon, Washington legalized recreational use with other states to follow. So in California, shortly after that, we did have a recreational use. It was extremely well utilized in California. And then today, there's still limited research. Despite all of this progress in terms of legalization, we still have a very difficult time conducting research. And that is because of Schedule I status. In order to conduct research in this country, If you want to do a clinical trial, you have to have a special license. You have to get product from the government. It has to come from certified NIDA growers, and it's very, very cumbersome. So most of the human data and trials actually are coming out of Europe and Israel, and we'll touch on a little bit of that coming up. A little bit about the biology of the plant. So cannabis is extremely complicated. It has many, many components to it. There are over 100 phytocannabinoids present in the plant, about 40% of which is cannabidiol, or commonly known as CBD. THC is another endocannabinoid, and THC acts on specific receptors in your body. These receptors are found all throughout the body, in fact, in all mammals. So this has been around, this system has been around for a long time. So the two main receptors are called CB1 and CB2. CB1 receptors are found in the nervous system, especially in the brain areas of memory, pain, emotion, and movement. Interestingly, they're not found in the area that controls breathing, and we'll talk about why that's important. Now, it's also interesting that CB1 receptors are 10 times more prevalent than opioid receptors in the body. So fascinating system. CB2 receptors are found mostly in the immune system cells of the body, widespread. So what is this endocannabinoid system and what does it do? So this system is composed of the endocannabinoids, so some chemicals, which I'll go over, and also the receptors. Now, these chemicals that we have in our body, they're very similar to CBD and THC, especially THC. And they play a role in appetite, blood pressure, bone growth, immune system, inflammation, pain, memory, reproduction, and muscle tone. So this is a widespread ancient system in our body. And this is a recent discovery, or in the 1990s. So it's really amazing that this has just been discovered, and we're just scratching the surface in terms of what does the system do and why is it important. So here are the two main endocannabinoids. There are others, and again, they're learning more about this all the time. But two of them include 2-arachidonoglycerol, which is the most abundant endocannabinoid. It binds to those CB receptors in your body, and again, it plays a role in the immune system, pain, and appetite. Anandamide is very similar in structure to THC. So this is floating around in your body, and it's responsible for the bliss or runner's high that people feel. It's also found in chocolate, which is maybe why we like chocolate so much. It also plays a role in pain, appetite, memory, reproduction, and sleep. So there is a theory that in certain disease states, we have dysregulation of our endocannabinoid system. So either there's something wrong with the levels of endocannabinoids in our body, or there's something wrong with the receptors, or our body is not clearing, or maybe clearing too much of these endocannabinoids. So this dysfunction may be associated with these disease states, especially neurologic issues such as Parkinson's, Huntington's, glaucoma, but even in common things such as metabolic syndrome, diabetes, hypertension, anxiety, depression, PTSD, schizophrenia, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, migraines, fertility problems, neuropathic, and other pain syndromes. So we're learning more about this and how can we improve our endocannabinoid system in terms of treating disease. There are things that we do know that modify our endocannabinoid system. So things like NSAIDs, like ibuprofen, acetaminophen, they can block the breakdown of endocannabinoids. So by raising the levels of your endocannabinoids, you get pain relief, which is a underappreciated mechanism that these can work. Exercise, we all know, people feel better when they exercise. Well, it increases the expression of your CB1 receptors. Social play increases our endocannabinoids in the brain. Alcohol does the opposite. So alcohol actually dampens down our endocannabinoid system. And two common things in our diet, turmeric and black pepper, they also augment our endocannabinoid system. So let's move on to talk about some of these cannabinoids. So CBD and THC are the most common cannabinoids that you hear about in the plant itself. Now CBD is just everywhere on the market now, and usually that's coming from hemp. So we'll talk about that separately. But this is from the whole plant. You're getting these cannabinoids plus other cannabinoids as well. So what does CBD do? So CBD by itself may have a role in anti-anxiety, anti-seizure, it's neuroprotective, and has anti-inflammatory properties. It can penetrate through your central nervous system, but it really doesn't bind to those CB receptors that THC does. In fact, CBD has over 65 molecular targets that are listed below, and it's an incredibly complicated system. CBD may calm down the effect of THC. THC is what most people are familiar with, and it's responsible for the psychoactivity of cannabis, the euphoria or high that people feel. However, it has many other functions and effects on the body. It does function as a muscle relaxant. In animal models, it has anti-cancer properties. It has anti-seizure properties, plays a role in nausea or anti-nausea. It lowers blood pressure. It can be bronchodilator, so opening up the bronchioles, pain modulator, anti-inflammatory, and others as listed. Now, not only in the plant is there THC and CBD, there are other minor cannabinoids, and it seems like they're discovering new ones every day. And they all are a little bit different. So the plant, again, is so fascinating. It has so many parts to it that we're just really starting to learn about. So a couple of these minor cannabinoids include CBN. This is a stored or degraded product. So as the product becomes old, its cannabinoids can kind of degenerate into CBN, and this can be really a sedating type of cannabinoid. So you'll see that marketed in some of the sleep remedies and type of things. Some of the other cannabinoids, minor ones, include CBC and CBG, and these may play a role in pain and anti-itch and anti-inflammatory. Now, it's important to remember that in the synthesized version, so the type of cannabis that you get from a prescription, you're not getting these minor cannabinoids. You're just getting an isolate or a synthesized version of a cannabinoid. So many people who are advocates of plant-based medicine feel that you get more out of the actual whole plant extracts. Cannabis seems to work very well. It's called the entourage effect, where you have all of these things present in their natural form. They work together. So that's been actually studied in animal models, and it seems to be the case. And again, as I pointed out, other things can interact, natural things that we utilize. So chocolate, capsaicin, turmeric, those also can interact with our endocannabinoid system. So there is a raw form of cannabis that most people aren't really aware of. And so before you heat the plant, there are these raw cannabinoids, and they are an acidic form. When you take the plant and you heat it, it changes it. So for example, CBDA is the acid form of CBD. And this raw form has different properties. So many people will use the raw plant, they'll actually juice it or just have it in the raw form as an anti-inflammatory. CBDA may have a role in anticipatory nausea and vomiting, which is something in the world of cancer is a problem. There aren't really good medications for that. But that's only been studied so far in rats. So we don't have a great human data yet in terms of if it works in people. And again, in animal models and cell culture models, there is some anti-cancer effect from these type of cannabinoids. Terpenes are another component of the plant. So
All right. So this is Weedsday Wednesday. We are listening to a doctor of oncology from Mayo Clinic talk about cannabis and its benefits. And we always take our break, well, most always, with our favorite song.
weed. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm a hunting, looking for a pot shop. This is fucking awesome.
Walk into my house like, what up? I got some good pop. I'm just pumped up, got some herb from the pot shop. Ice in the fridge, it used to be frosty. My friends like, damn, this is so nasty. Okay. Rolling in hella high, looking like it's people time. Dominating all my friends as I eat some chili fries. Draped in the snuggie with my girl sitting next to me. Probably should have had a big gulp full of iced tea. But shit, it was 99 cents. I'll be blazing and smoking, about to go and get some munchies next. Passing up on those Cracker Jacks, Reese's Pieces of where it's. I gotta get me some soda pop. Cotton mouth has been creeping up, but can't remember where I put my keys. Yeah, that's what's up. I'ma take you grandpa's ride. No, for real. Ask your grandpa, can I take a 65? To Bill cruising to my local Publix. Nothing better than rolling with two super fly. Choose to have frozen burritos. I bought frozen burritos. I bought some Ben and Jerry's, and then I bought some Cheetos. Hello, my main man Obama. A couple states have just reformed their laws on marijuana. What you gonna do, send the feds there? Hell no, the DPAs will be like, oh, they got volcanoes.
I'm gonna smoke some weed. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm a hunting, looking for a pot shop. This is fucking awesome. I'm gonna smoke some weed. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm a hunting, looking for a pot shop. This is fucking awesome.
What you know about the science of marijuana? What you know about people suffering from glaucoma? They need it, it helps them with their condition. If you don't believe me, then just ask some high physicians. Thank your granddad for voting for that guy. Richard Nixon is the president who made the plant illegal. But science is now showing that it's medicine for people, and the private sector's fighting to keep all of that illegal. Alcohol and tobacco, pharmaceutical prisons. I'll take those 4 major lobby groups and fight those motherfuckers. They're making money day and night, all those motherfuckers. And bribing Congress out of sight, all those motherfuckers. They be like, oh, it's immoral and I'm healthy. I'm like, how many people are you making wealth? Anti-marijuana lobbies are making all kinds of profits, and they don't want you to stop because of all the special interest. I call that getting swindled and pinned. Shit, I call that getting tricked by the government. That law's hella old, so it's time to update it, regulate it, and then get it under state control. Peak game, look into my political telescope. Think it's gonna stay like this forever? Not hella won't. Not hella won't.
Hey, Obama, stop being a hypocrite. You used to smoke weed.
I'm gonna smoke some weed. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm a hunting, looking for a pot shop. This is fucking awesome. Let's end the war on drugs. It's time to move. These special interest groups are nothing more than corporate thugs. Let's end the war on weed. The people have agreed. These special interest groups have built these local private weeds. I'm gonna smoke some weed. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm a hunting, looking for a pot shop. This is fucking awesome.
Alrighty then, welcome back to Weedsday Wednesday, everybody. Belle Star here. We are listening to, well, let's just do a shout out for Tumbleweeds Health Center in the Good Leaf at 6224 East Speedway Boulevard. Come on down, folks. Come get certified. We do offer telemedicine, so you don't have to come down if you don't want to, but we'd love to see you. Our doctors would love to see you. We are open for certifications Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we are open 7 days a week. Otherwise, yeah, actually, usually we're open on Sunday. Sunday's kind of a hit or a miss. Usually we're there 11 to 3-ish, something like that. But every other day we're there 10 to 6. And we've got all your hemp and CBD, CBs, all the CBs covered. And our gal was just about to talk about terpenes. So we're going to listen to that and continue on with our doctor from the Mayo Clinic, Dr. Stacy DeAndre. She's a medical oncologist, and we're going to continue learning about terpenes.
Terpenes are a class of compounds that are produced by plants, and the reason they do this is to protect themselves. So these cannabinoids or these terpenes give the plant its characteristic aroma or flavor, and they detract herbivores and parasites, basically. Now, terpenes can either be activating or sedating, depending on the type of terpene in the product. And some products are marketed for this reason. So things that are more sedating may have more myrcene or lavender type of product. And here are just some of the examples of some of those terpenes. So myrcene is a very earthy flavor and aroma. It's very relaxing. Linalool is from like lavender. It also is very sedating and anti-anxiety. Limonene is from like a lemony, citrusy type of terpene, and that's actually more mood elevating, so a little more activating. Pinenes are terpenes that smell like pine, or some spices like rosemary, and those are quite activating. And then trans-terephthalene is a terpene that is kind of peppery, and that may play a role in pain and anti-inflammation. So the terpenes are another whole component of the plant that go into how it may work in the body. So again, increasing the complexity of this plant. So what is the difference between hemp and cannabis? So this is a super common question. So basically, they're both cannabis. They're both part of the same family. They're just different types of plants. The hemp plant is very tall. It has a very long stalk, and it doesn't have as many flowers. So you see more stalk and less of the flowering product. Now, hemp is used as a scavenger plant. So they use it to help clean up toxic sites. You know, it sucks up a lot from the ground. And for that reason, it can have more contaminants in it. And you need to use a lot of hemp in order to extract the CBD. So what you're getting from hemp is mainly CBD. Now, the problem with hemp products that are marketed online is they're often mislabeled. And one study showed up to 70% of products that were obtained online were mislabeled, meaning they either didn't have what they were supposed to, or they actually had more THC in them than they were supposed to. And that could be a problem if you do drug testing for work and you think you're taking something that doesn't have THC, and whoops, it actually does. So again, hemp products are legal online. You can kind of get them everywhere. State regulations are still pretty fuzzy, especially in states where nothing is legal. So again, you need to really check with your state and see what's going on with regards to that. Now, cannabis, the traditional plant that you see has a lot of flowers. It has more cannabinoids in it, so you're getting THC, CBD, and a lot more of those minor cannabinoids. It's more potent. You get more of that entourage effect where all of the plant is working together. There's less contamination because you don't need to use as much product. And again, it's still Schedule 1, so we have to get our products through dispensaries. However, when you do that, you're getting a clean product, because they have to test these products for purity, for exactly what is in them. They test them for contamination and lead and heavy metals. So that is why many of these products at the dispensaries are so expensive, because there is a lot of quality control. But again, you're getting a high quality product. So a little bit about how cannabis is taken. So there's many ways to take cannabis, and these all can be useful depending on what the indication is. So inhalation is, kind of the more known route, mainly just because of recreational use. It is the fastest onset. People either vape or smoke the flower. Juicing is when you're actually taking the leaves from the plant and grinding them up and mixing them. And that's where some people get that raw or active form of the cannabinoid. Oils are called full extract oils. They are basically mostly used for hygiene products. Some people may have heard of it, extremely potent, really thick, tarry stuff. It's very hard to titrate. And sometimes they'll tell people, oh, well, you take a grain of rice size. So what does that really mean? It's very hard to titrate. So I haven't been a fan of that. It's difficult to measure, especially for people who are new to cannabis medicine. I actually prefer tinctures. These are more diluted. they come in a dropper with a leathering dropper on it, so you know exactly what you're getting. And it's easier to titrate things. They go under your tongue, you leave it under your tongue, it's a sublingual administration. They can have an onset of 15 minutes, 30 minutes, but a lot of people don't really do it. But they don't work right away, so that's an important thing to remember. Now, edibles are, things that come in a pill or a chocolate or gummy bear or some form of an edible that you're actually eating. And that can absorb over 1 to 2 hours. Very slow onset, but the effect can last for many, many hours. So some people really enjoy edibles at nighttime. They last for a very long time. Some people will use suppositories. It's really, really controversial. They may not be really well absorbed. It's not a form that's commonly recommended. There are topical cannabis products, so you may have seen CBD creams or CBD THC creams, and some people use those for arthritic pains, kind of aches and pains, that type of thing. And then there are transdermal patches, and those are quite expensive, but it's just another alternative method of getting this product into your bloodstream. So a few more words about the way that you take cannabis. So again, oral absorption is highly variable. And what's interesting is that how you feel after you take an oral product is different than how you may feel if you inhale the product. The metabolites, how your body processes the cannabis, when you do an oral product, they can be highly psychoactive. So some people don't like that, and they prefer inhalation. So it's highly variable in your body metabolites these products and what effect you feel. Again, oral absorption can take many hours to reach peak levels. It can affect the enzyme system. We'll talk about how that interacts with drugs. And these cannabinoids are stored in the fat and they're released at very low levels, so they can stick around for quite a while. Tinctures, again, they're diluted through alcohol extraction. They are faster onset, but again, many people are swallowing them. Inhalation, again, takes only a few minutes of level, but then they decline more rapidly. So they're good for things that you need a very quick onset, but it doesn't last very long. So many people might use an inhalation route for nausea because it'll work quickly. Parasite drug interactions. So, cannabis can affect the liver enzyme system, which is responsible for our metabolism of other drugs. So there can be drug-drug interactions. Coumadin or warfarin, some specific seizure medications, not super common, but they can be affected by cannabis. And then statins at higher doses, some antibiotics and antifungals and blood pressure medications can their levels can be changed by patients who use cannabis. So it's always important to check with your pharmacist and your doctor to make sure there are no interactions. And if there are, you need to really work with a knowledgeable provider to make sure that you're safe if you're using cannabis medicine. Some other interactions to be aware of. So an interesting interaction, I think a good one, patients who are using opioids, oftentimes if they are using cannabis, they're able to reduce their opioid usage. And in some studies, they actually can stop their opioids. So this is under intense study because of the opioid crisis. And, a lot of people think that cannabis medicine may be a way to help people get off of opioids. Now, we talked about how there are no CB receptors in the brainstem, which is a good thing. So the risk of overdosing from many drugs, when you're taking opioids and other benzodiazepines and other things, they decrease your breathing. And that's why people overdose, because they stop breathing. So cannabis doesn't affect that center in the brain. So it's safe with regards to that. Now, There can be excess sedation, however, so if you're using alcohol or any kind of cannabis, Valium, there can be a lot of sedation if you're using them together. Also, anticholinergic drugs, so I listed them below, the common things like Benadryl, Wellbutrin, Atrovent, those are called anticholinergic drugs, and they can increase the psychoactivity of cannabis. And stimulants, those may also increase paranoia and psychiatric side effects when using cannabis. So just a few things to keep in mind with other drugs that may interact with cannabis. So why are we using cannabis? So the National Academy of Sciences report in 2017 found conclusive and it's substantial evidence for cannabis use to treat chronic pain in adults as an adjunct for nausea, patients on chemotherapy, and for multiple sclerosis spasticity. There are prescription cannabinoids available, and these have been around actually for a long time. Synthetic THC has been around for many, many years. People have used it for nausea and for appetite stimulation in cancer patients. Gabalone also the 1-to-1 ratio that is used for many indications, including cancer pain. Syndrose is a liquid synthetic, again, for chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting, and for anorexia. Now, these synthetics are not widely used because a lot of people don't like the side effects. It's THC, and so it's really not like what is in nature. So they're not really widely used. Now, Epidiolex is the first FDA-approved drug that contains, it's plant-based. It's a plant-derived CBD, very high dose oral solution that's used for children with rare forms of epilepsy. This is just a study, moving on to some of the indications for using cannabis. A typical study done in cancer in Medina. This was a large study, almost 3,000 patients were followed. 80% had severe pain and insomnia. These patients were given products, either THC or THC with CBD, and they found that many patients at 1 month, 66 reported an improvement in their symptoms, and at 6 months, the majority were still using cannabis and were still reporting improvement in their symptoms. Their quality of life improved, their pain improved, and they also reported improvements in sleep, fatigue, nausea, anxiety, and depression. And in this particular study, 36% of the patients actually stopped using their opioids. Again, there were some side effects. These are common, manageable. A few patients do stop using it because they don't like the psychoactive effects, but you can see that the percentages are pretty low. We'll talk about side effects in a few minutes. Now, this is kind of a typical study where patients are given cannabis and then you kind of see what happens. However, randomized trials in cancer pain, they really are so involved. They have this meta-analysis done where they basically said, we really can't make heads or tails of the data. They said that in this particular meta-analysis, it is unlikely that cannabinoids or cannabis will reduce pain for everyone. They may work for a small number of people under supervision specialists. However, we do need more trials done using products for the treatment of pain. So what about anxiety and sleep? So for anxiety, CBD is shown to be helpful in a variety of situations. The dosing of CBD is highly variable, much more so than THC. So CBD can also reduce the side effects of THC, and that's why many patients really do like the combination of CBD and THC together. And for anxiety, if CBD alone is not helpful, sometimes a little addition of THC can be useful. Now, sleep, studies have shown an improvement in short-term sleep outcomes in individuals with sleep disturbance associated with obstructive sleep apnea, fibromyalgia, chronic pain, and multiple sclerosis. And most of the studies do use THC. Again, you have to be mindful of the side effects of THC. The especially if you're doing an edible or a tincture, it can be long lasting through the night, which can be beneficial, but you can kind of wake up sometimes a little bit groggy. I have many patients that are taking CBD alone for sleep because it's easy to get. You can just get CBD anywhere. The problem is it doesn't work. So CBD alone may actually impair sleep. CBD alone, especially at lower doses, is actually activating. So, it can help if anxiety is the main reason why you're not sleeping. So it's important to, again, using cannabis and what's the underlying problem. Is it anxiety or is it again, the terpenes are important, and again, certain products have terpenes that are designed to help sedation. So things like lavender or a little bit of CBN or person. So the terpene profile and the cannabis profile is important. With regards to nausea and appetite, studies have been pretty mixed, at least in the cancer area. Different products have been tested in different settings. It makes the studies really difficult to interpret. Many of the studies have been done in synthetics, so we don't have a lot of data on the plant-based products. And again, the synthetic products are widely available but rarely used. And most of the literature would suggest that, it can be useful as an adjunct for nausea that is not being relieved by standard antibiotics. Our nausea medicines these days are really good. And so many patients, they don't need to go as far as with CBD now or other medications. So I get this question probably on a daily basis. What can I use to treat my cancer? Can cannabis treat my cancer? And the answer to that is we don't know. Now, if you're a rat or a mouse, you may be in the black. And there are many animal studies, studies that do show that cannabis has anti-cancer activity. Both THC, CBD, and the combination have shown activity. However, it depends on the cancer type, and it even depends on the specific where that cancer came from, that particular patient that it came from. It can vary. You can have two different patients with breast cancer, and they make a cell culture from that cancer, and it will respond differently to different products. So it's extremely complicated. There's very little human data. So we don't have any clinical trials. Really, there's a tiny study done in the UK on brain tumor patients. It needs to be replicated, and they're actually working on that right now, putting together a larger brain tumor study using a one-to-one product. But we just do not have, good clinical trial data on whether it can treat cancer. And that will probably remain that way until cannabis is scheduled and we can make research more accessible. And I think that needs to happen in order to move forward. One little point I'd like to make about immunotherapy, this is a recent study out of Israel, and they showed that patients who are using cannabis that are on immunotherapy have worse outcomes. So I do point out to my patients that are on immunotherapy, until we know more, I would suggest not using cannabis or at least using the lowest amount possible. Fortunately, with immunotherapy, we don't get into as many of the side effects we see with chemotherapy. But until we know, have better data on the effects of cannabis on immunotherapy, I do tell my patients about this study. So how do we dose cannabis? So the golden rule is to start very low and go very slow. THC is limiting. So if patients go too fast and they take too much of a product that has THC, they're going to know it and they may never want to do it again. And that's not the way we want to do this. We want to start with a very tiny dose and slowly titrate that up. Many of my patients will start with dosing them at nighttime and slowly increase to where they have a therapeutic effect. If needed, depending on what the problem is, sometimes we add another dose in during the day. And I have my patients journal the effects so they know kind of what's going on. They can document the dose and what side effects they're feeling, and stop when they achieve a therapeutic effect. More is not always better, and more can get you into more side effects. Again, the dosing is so highly variable, especially with oral edible products. It's really important to work with a knowledgeable provider. Inhalation can be useful for breakthrough symptoms or for something that you need a quick onset of action for, like nausea. So there are, when you do go to a dispensary, there are many, many products. It can be overwhelming. Even in the state-run centers where products are still somewhat limited, they still have a lot of products in there. They have different ratios. So a very common thing that you will see is CBD THC, and it will say like 1-to-1, or it will say 2-to-1. So what they're talking about is 1 part CBD to 1 part THC, which can be very broadly used. Now, for people who are sensitive to THC and don't really like the effect of it, you can find a product that has a higher amount of CBD. So that would be more like a 5-to-1, so 5 part CBD to 1 part THC. And if you're extremely sensitive to THC, you could go with an even higher CBD product. Now, CBD, again, by itself, may be useful for anxiety, maybe pain. At low doses, it's been useful for clarity and well-being, all the way up to very high doses. The Epidiolex product is useful for treating epilepsy in children. Again, the main question that you should ask and your provider should ask is, why am I using cannabis? What are my problems that I would like to treat? And then that will point you to the particular product and the way that you use cannabis. So it's very, very individualized. And it takes some trial and error. It's not one size fits all for sure. So here are some of the side effects of THC. So you can have lowering of blood pressure. You can have a fast heart rate. You can feel thirsty. Some people feel euphoria. I don't know if that's a side effect, probably a good thing. But other psychoactive like paranoia and memory loss can occur. And spatial perception alterations and feeling disoriented, feeling drowsy, red eyes, bronchodilation, constipation. THC is a muscle relaxant, so kind of like lowering of the motor tone, so your muscles are more relaxed. And that can be a problem potentially for older folks who are at fall risk. Again, dizziness and even nausea can occur at high doses. Patients do develop tolerance to THC, so you need higher doses over time sometimes. And again, THC can interact with your liver enzyme system. Now, there is some dependence seen with THC. However, it's much less than with benzodiazepines or with opioids. There also is withdrawal. Now, the withdrawal from cannabis is typically mild, and most people liken it to caffeine. So you're going to have some insomnia, irritable, nausea, restless, and it just takes a few days. And the reason that it's not important with those withdrawal is because, again, cannabinoids are stored in the fat, and they're released at very low levels of time. So you have a gradual decline of the levels of cannabinoids in your blood. And again, there is an addictive potential with cannabis, but it is a low percentage, especially in our medical patients. We are careful in those with a psychiatric history or those with a history of substance abuse. CBD, does have side effects. It's everywhere. You can just buy it online.
All righty, folks. Well, she's right. See, depending on where you go, CBD can have side effects. So, at any rate, that's it for us for today. We appreciate you being here. We are grateful for you on this Thanksgiving. We are thankful for you. We're thankful for the ability to do this show for almost 14 years. So have a happy Thanksgiving and eat lots of food. Eat a turkey, get that tryptophan in there, and take a giant nap. So, sister, hope you feel better. Cannabis Kid, happy Thanksgiving. And I'll talk to you all next week. And remember, be smart, be safe, and educate. Teach someone about weed. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.